Thanks, Jesse. All right. Welcome, everybody, to the what is this, March 5th town board meeting. And so we will open with opportunity for privilege of the floor tonight.
Just flag. Salute to the flag.
Oh, right. And okay. We'll pledge to the flag first. I forgot about that.
Should right.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of
the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God.
All right.
Okay.
I will open privilege of the floor. So anybody that wants to address the board, if you're here, the town hall, didn't put a sign sheet up, but if you raise your hand, and if you're in Zoom land, you can raise your Zoom hand. We will call on people in order that we notice them. So let's see the participants over here. And so I just will, so tonight's agenda is the agenda meeting, and the one item we have on the agenda is discussing basically rescinding our opt-out law on allowing cannabis dispensaries and lounges. We opted out at the end of 2021 because the cannabis board hadn't been formed and the regulations weren't in place. So we did that as a sort of precautionary measure. So now all of that is in place, and the town has enacted zoning regulations. And so we felt like we should consider whether we wish to basically opt back in for allowing those two types of uses, businesses. So the town board will be discussing it at the meeting later on. And I guess I would just say, if anybody wants to speak to the board about that, now is the time to do that. So I would, just to clarify, so Lisa?
Yes. Hi, everybody. My name is Mary Lisa Strassheim. I go by Lisa. Other people. A little nervous. This is my first time addressing a board of anything, I think.
We won't make faces.
Okay, thank you. So I thought I'd just give a little background about me and why I'm here. I'm here for my company Hip Crop, which is Caroline's first and only cannabis micro business, and I'm very proud of that. I have been in Ithaca for a long time. We were talking about how many years. I came in 1984 to Tompkins County to go to Cornell. I was a animal science major, and I stayed in Ithaca like so many people did after I graduated, and I was a research scientist at Cornell for 17 years, where I studied molecular virology and all sorts of signal pathways and cancer research and a variety of different things related to viruses and research. Then in 2006, I started my own real estate company. I'm the broker and owner of Homes of Ithaca, and I'm still doing that till this day. Let's see, I'm from Buffalo, so little Buffalo girl. Let's see, I have extensive gardening and greenhouse and nursery experience. I managed a local garden center for almost 5 years. And this is now my 5th year of legal licensure in New York State to grow cannabis. So I've been doing this nonstop since it first became legal. I sent the board 3 little flyers, handouts. I don't know if anyone had a chance to look at them or not. Okay. One is simply the micro business license overview, what is permitted by the license. The second was a little thing prepared by the Office of Cannabis Management about how adult use cannabis taxes support your community. And the third was, I didn't print it out, so it was a little longer, is a compendium, it's a research review article. That is, I thought was very, very modern and up to date and goes over a lot of the potential therapeutic uses of cannabinoids. And I think it's a fascinating article. Of note, cannabis has been used medicinally in society for thousands of years, so this is nothing new. I have to read from this, I'm sorry, I'm so nervous. So I did want to talk today about the opportunity and what bringing a responsible cannabis space to Caroline with HipCrop would look like. This would be opening a new chapter for our town without a doubt. We are really we are at an interesting point. You know what? This is what I'm at this point. Oh my gosh, that's so much better. We are at an interesting point in our town's history. Cannabis legalization has opened up some new possibilities, and I'm excited to chat about how we can make the most of them. It's a change for sure, and change always brings a mix of curiosity and maybe a few questions, which is totally understandable. So let's talk about the good stuff and what this can mean for us. I'm very interested in helping to boost our local economy with the creation of new jobs for my company, extra tax revenue, and a draw to get more folks to visit our town, which means more support for other local businesses as well. I'm very interested in our community. I love it here. I'm an avid outdoors person. I try to frequent all of our little local businesses, and I really want to focus on community enhancement through quality. Think of the HipCrop micro business a little bit like a microbrewery or a small family-owned winery. This would be a place where folks can come together in a relaxed, controlled environment, a place where responsible adults can enjoy a legal premium product. We're talking about a commitment to quality, similar to how a local winery focuses on its grapes. It's an opportunity to add to the social fabric of our town with a high-quality product. HipCrop's commitment to organic craft growing methods means a focus on sustainability and a premium experience, something we believe our community will appreciate. Shop local and quality assured. Right now, when people want to buy their legal tested cannabis, they're driving all the way to Ithaca. Why should our residents have to make that trip when they can shop right here in town? Supporting local businesses keeps money in our community, and after a long and arduous path to legalization, having access to legal, tested, and quality assured products is something our community deserves, and HipCrop provides that quality. And fitting right in with zoning and keeping things responsible, zoning has to be done right. I've done my homework. My location is in an agricultural zone. It's not near any schools, or it's not really near much of anything. So that makes it an ideal place for a micro business. Details on the details, and there are so many details. We will be, of course, following every zoning law, and security is a serious issue for me. We're talking cameras everywhere and third-party notification and all sorts of things. Security is a big thing. And keeping it controlled, we are all about being responsible. So just like a brewery or a winery, or even the Brookton's Market, we will have strict ID checks. We want this to be a positive addition to our community, and HipCrop's dedication to quality goes hand in hand with responsible operations. And let's talk about it. I want to hear from everybody. I'm always open to feedback, and we want to show you how HipCrop's small batch and organic growing process will benefit this town. And then to wrap it up, this is a chance to grow together, pun intended. This is a chance to embrace something new for our town, something that can bring real benefits. By working together, we could make this a success. I really believe this could be a great thing for the town of Caroline, and I hope you do too, especially when we were bringing in premium products like HipCrop's to our community and keeping our residents shopping local. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
If anyone has any questions, please let me know.
Okay. We might follow up later. I'll see if there are other people who wish to address the board now, but thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask her a question?
Sure.
do you know if someone is able to drive after leaving your establishment?
That's a good question. I don't know how to answer that correctly, in all honesty. I guess it would be similar to somebody running a responsible liquor operation. How do
Isn't
they know
it,
someone's not inebriated?
right,
It's the same sort of dilemma. It's a dilemma.
but isn't it? I don't really know, I haven't really used either product,
I would say that's a good
but
question.
I feel like. It's easier to tell when someone's unable to drive, like, you know, they're cannot walk properly or slurring their word, or, you know, there are obvious manifestations of being drunk, or too drunk to drive, but I don't know that that's true of smoking pot, so
No,
that seems like a thing to consider, that if people are gonna be driving out here to get. Especially if they're using, are you talking about two separate, like a lounge and a dispensary, or
they're separate uses. So the license allows this, that, and the other thing, so there's like two separate.
but like in one location?
Yes,
So you would go buy your thing and then you could sit and
correct.
use this.
It's like wine,
Okay,
or a
so,
restaurant or.
and I know like a winery, they'll have like, you know, buses and things like that for people so that they can use the product
The wineries
responsibly.
do?
Yeah, or like hire people to drive you to them, like if you're going to a bunch of different wineries. I know there's things for that, but I don't know, that seems like a concern to me as far as safety.
I'm not aware of any winery that has its own bus and there's people around, but if you have information on that, I'd like to, 'cause that's a great idea.
So other than, you know, about if we bring money into the community and stuff like that. I just don't see if it's gonna contribute to our. community.
So,
I.
so do you have
I
a statement to make to the
understand.
board?
I understand your.
I feel like this is turning into a debate.
Yeah, I don't.
Okay, I feel like it's not a good addition to our community.
Okay,
I
Can you
feel like-
identify yourself, please?
Or my name's Sherry Corr. And I have watched, you know, other states who have made marijuana legal and watched, you know, people who have become addicts to other things have gone sky high. They've run out of rehabs in rehab places, to place people in Colorado where my son lives. And having to send kids out to other states because they've run out. Since, you know, and I know we're not debating making it legal, it's already legal, but we're just making additional places for people to get it. And I don't think that's a good road to go down, and that's why I came, because I thought it would be good to hear another person's perspective.
Thank you.
thank you. Yes.
Catherine.
Catherine or Jaya? Catherine, I believe.
Hi,
That's
everyone.
fine.
Thanks. I honestly wasn't planning on speaking because I've already, spoke at the public hearing. But based on what's going on procedurally right now, I guess I'm a little confused. So if this is privilege of the floor, I will just reiterate what I shared at the public hearing and ask that, the board move on with whatever their discussion is. It's hard for us on Zoom to see what's happening in the room if people are talking to one another. So if you could just help us know what's going on in there, that would be great.
So yeah, we did provide an opportunity for engagement, so were you able to understand the conversation?
Enough. It sounds like one person was speaking in favor and then another town member was addressing that person. So I get it enough. I'm unclear on
Okay.
what the procedure is right now.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Catherine. I think tonight we thought, we would accept any comments that people wish to offer at the privilege of the floor, and then we will follow that with a board discussion, so. I hear your process appeal, so thank you. With that, I will ask if anybody else wishes to offer a statement or comments to the board. here or in Zoom land? No? Okay. Well, thanks everybody for those comments and information, so. So I guess we will move to the agenda, and first, I guess, committee reports.
I don't really have much, I don't think I have anything to add about the planning board. I think we're up to date from the last time we met.
Okay,
Ag committee,
sure.
we just scheduled our next meeting, which is going to be a potluck. I think I remember the date, but I just want to double check so I don't give the wrong information. So the venue is a little tight because it's my house. But we're having a potluck on the 14th at 6 p.m. So even though it's the ag committee, we invite anyone that's involved with anything relevant to food related, land stewardship, gardening, animals, hay, horses, sheep, you name it. The idea is we want to have an inclusive space to talk about the food system, essentially. Cannabis, mushrooms, whatever it is. So anyone's invited, but the goal of the potluck is to connect and eat, but also continue the momentum to enact the ag plan, which is now part of our town. So talk to me if you're interested in learning more and want to come.
And we have to bring food.
Sure, it's a potluck.
It's a potluck.
I mean, I've gone, the potluck's not bringing food, but you can, yes.
So do you see that as a public meeting?
No.
Okay,
Well, I mean, we don't know yet.
yeah,
It's been a business meeting and then a potluck, which hasn't really been defined other than getting to connect, and then a business meeting so far in terms of like
okay.
the succession.
I was just thinking like the ag committee meetings are posted on the calendar. And I think we have the Zoom invitation posted with that, which wouldn't be relevant.
I would have said, but no.
I'm just saying normally they are, even though it is a committee that usually meets here in person and works. So I just wanted to know how you want to handle that, so.
I mean, it's a good point. If it's public and we get 50 people, we won't be able to handle, it won't happen. But that's a good point.
Maybe you could move down to the Brooksondale Community Center if you go. So maybe people should give you a shout if they're coming.
Yeah.
So
It's interesting, like how do you notify the public that we're at meeting, but then limit it to a certain number, but yeah,
Well,
it's a good
could
conversation.
you just make it an informal gathering of the community outside of the parameters of the ag committee for this purpose?
I guess,
I mean,
but it is, the committee is committing to it as a way to connect with each other as a body. And we want to invite, it's not just a committee, we want to invite people to engage with the committee also. So it's kind of both.
So it is a public invitation.
Yeah.
I'm trying to give you an out.
Yeah, no, I know. Let's call it an experiment. Let's call it an experiment.
It'll probably be warm enough to be outdoors.
Oh, right. Wait, what is it?
The 14th.
like today.
Oh, yeah, sure, I'm sure it'll be warm enough.
Yeah.
Could be -4.
You just have to anchor the tables on the ice.
Right. So anyway, that's my. I think is that it? Yeah, it's the committee report.
Thank you.
Review board didn't meet, doesn't have anything on its agenda this month, so it won't be meeting.
Yeah, it would have been last night, so.
Been last night.
And the EIC didn't meet either. Are they as an official committee?
They are.
Okay.
Yeah. So EIC, I mean, it was quasi-sponsored by EIC, but we did have a public meeting in Speedsville.
Right.
on the concept and proposal for a community geothermal project. So that's a presentation was made by the engineering firm, and there were a number of questions, some follow-up. So they've done a preliminary what was that called? A scoping study? Feasibility study. So the next step would be like choosing an avenue as far as what kind of approach. There were 3 approaches, engineering approaches identified to doing this. And so I think I did share, I think I forwarded you guys the email from JAG about that. So we should get back, there's an opportunity to participate in an NSF grant proposal. But we need to look at that carefully and see what the responsibilities of the town would be. So we should do that.
One of the things that we learned during this presentation is that as things currently stand, unless new opportunities arose, that with current funding structures, the town would be likely to share the cost for that stage, unless we were to farm it out to we're one to proceed unless we were to farm it out to a corporate entity to run it on behalf of the town. Both of those options are very, very big considerations. So we heard a lot of
It's still, a lot of it is.
a lot of things to be considered.
Yeah. And for different options, I think we still don't know what's viable or
Right.
not, so.
Right, so if we can get a viable project written up, just waiting for a funding opportunity, able to pull it off the shelf. I mean,
The next stage is, at least I understand it, is the need to have a new funding opportunity
okay.
to
To be able
create
to,
that viable plan.
okay,
And it's, I can't remember what that, it would be considerable funds that we might have to expend
Okay.
to do that.
One thing I didn't get from I was a little bit late to the presentation. I think this is the first presentation I've attended.
Okay,
Is there any sense of how many people are interested in participating in this if it were constructed?
so
I guess demand is what I'm looking for, the word I'm searching for.
yeah, so we passed a survey through the town
Okay.
and collected information on everybody's homes. Most people participated. Not everybody signed the buy-in form, but most people did. And the system would be optional. So this would be basically a geothermal utility system installed that people would have the option of tapping into. So I think a lot of people were interested. I think a lot of that also this is by everyone's recognition a very new thing, kind of off the wall. And one reason that this firm is interested in it is if this could test out as a positive thing, a workable idea, in a rural area without natural gas like Speedsville, then it could be applied across a lot of rural areas in the country, in New York State and elsewhere. So I think they're excited about it for that reason. But we have a lot to consider because the last time it was presented, we were under the impression that there was state funding that would cover almost everything, that we wouldn't have to. And of course, that's easy to buy into. So
what happened to the state funding?
well, I don't know.
Okay, we need to
I don't know, we didn't have a chance to discuss details,
Okay.
but it's nice sort of funding,
Mhm.
so that was what it was, so. Anyway, that's something that we should grapple with. I think this deadline is coming up at the end of the month for this grant proposal, so.
We really need to hear more about it from them.
Yeah,
what to do.
exactly. So we can probably schedule a meeting, a working meeting with them to discuss it or something like that, I think. But I did share the link to the grant and all, so we can look at, study that a little bit and get back to them. The other thing I wanted to, today, a couple things, so, I did, email Jessica at the county DOER, and she got right back. Did you see that?
Mhm.
So I don't know if either of you can attend tomorrow's meeting.
I wrote, if this, yeah, I can do it, it's, I don't know if I've ever done a meeting on Teams, but it's like Zoom, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah, so I responded to you and
Okay.
her, that if they send me the link, I will attend.
Okay.
So,
thank you.
Yeah, I would like to come, but I'll be at another conference. If it's recorded, I'd like to know, because I'd like to watch it.
Yeah, I don't
Teams
know.
usually don't
Yeah,
record,
I
Zoom
don't
does,
know.
but
They may not record it, but anyway, she did say, you know, that this is laying the groundwork for what they're developing, and then they'll be reaching out to the towns later for their part. So it's pretty cool.
so yeah, it's what
What's
is
the
it?
acronym? Mark, I missed it. The county, what?
Oh, I'm sorry. So, and that makes total sense. So I wrote to Jessica Verhus at the Department of Emergency Response.
Okay, that's what I
Oh,
thought.
okay.
I just want to make sure.
About the county's emergency response
Right,
plan,
okay.
and she said, and sorry about that, everybody.
I see the email,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
So,
and thank you, Tim, for fleshing that out, and you beat me over the head.
Yeah.
So, and she responded almost immediately, yes, we are doing that, and we're having a meeting tomorrow at 1:30. So I can't attend, I might try to attend the first part, but where we have the bid proposals for the town hall renovation at 2:00 tomorrow, they're due,
Wow.
so you get ready for that.
So are you still going to, sorry to disrupt, but are we still doing the meeting downtown tomorrow for soil and water?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
what's that about? Oh, for the,
about Banks Road,
okay.
so,
The other thing that I was just gonna mention in relationship to this, that I mentioned to Mark, is at the Association of Towns meeting, I got really interested. I went to a session on the CDBG housing, town housing improvement opportunities. And Dryden got one of these grants. Danby most recently got one of these grants. I think Newark Valley had gotten one, I'd read. And these are statewide grants for home improvements for middle and low income. And I was thinking that since there was in the last meeting prior to this, a significant attendance for the egg presentation in Speedsville, and a lot of interest in this project.
mhm,
And one option that occurred to me is if this doesn't end up being a viable route, or maybe even if it does, perhaps our applying for one of these large home improvement grants would then give people the opportunity to
Yeah.
use a home improvement grant precisely to do this heating,
like
cooling,
mesh with it.
re-engineering,
Uh-huh.
not on the system, but independently.
Mhm.
But it's something that I want to look into, I think, and it's something that's been in the back of my mind anyway, that I
yeah,
think
likewise,
we really need to do something to improve the housing stock in the town.
yeah.
Is it just energy related or is it like
No, it's housing
roofs
stock.
and?
Yeah, we had, that was that, Bob Spalding, I think, got one of these
I think so too,
grants,
yeah,
but it's been a while,
Yeah, it's
honestly,
been quite a while.
so.
It's home improvements, basically.
So back in the
The town manages it or each individual homeowner manages their own grant?
I
Do
think
you know how
the
it works?
homeowners apply for funding from the town, is my understanding.
because I mean, that's one thing I took away from the egg presentation was in addition to just making the system, most houses would have to have their insulation upgraded
Mhm.
in order
Yes.
to make it
Yeah.
worthwhile, so.
That's part of the project.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Mhm.
this seems like it could go towards that.
towards that as well, yeah.
It's a huge project.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So that's something I wanna look at, I'll look into
That'd be
it.
great. And you were thinking of that as being applicable to residents townwide.
Yeah, well, it would be townwide,
Yeah.
but absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think that'd be cool.
Yeah.
The other thing, emergency response related locally for this building and that building is Michelle worked on a plan, so, and I've
mhm.
been filling in some blanks that were missing, and then made some site maps for fire extinguishers and shut offs and things, so I kicked that back to everybody today.
Yeah, I saw it.
So,
I didn't see that.
but
Okay.
we're not gonna discuss it tonight, so it's not, but I just wanted to let you know, and thank you.
So it'd be worth it for everybody to look at it though, because we're thinking what the next meeting we might adopt it and
Mhm.
arrange to get copies to everybody.
You sent that today, Mark?
Yep.
Pretty late,
Oh, there it is, I found it.
Yeah. so
Thanks.
that's good, yeah, thank you. Anything else?
Broadband is rolling along. There's a lot of work going on there. Safe Streets for All, is concluding the plan and with Caroline, and the maps are gonna include the hamlets and other population centers, which they hadn't had in, so I'm really glad they're actually going to be there, along with some recommendations in there, and so that will allow us as a town to apply for money to get parts of those plans, so we would get to pick and choose, like, but that would be a support for us to get some federal money from the infrastructure bill.
So what would the money be for?
Sorry?
What would the money be used for?
A number of things, I mean, everything, from traffic calming, signage, like, pensions at the beginning of population centers, like, so that's like the road just narrows a little bit, so people slow down a little bit.
Do we have to get state approval for anything like that?
It depends on the road, and it depends on what project. If you're putting a traffic circle in, yes, that would be something different than signage that said, welcome to Speedsville. So there are different levels on that. Also education of speed education. So, but just having that recommendation, these recommendations, like reviews of speed limits, possible stop sign necessary, that gives weight to actually having it happen. And the plan had to be written within parameters that can be understood by the infrastructure bill. So the infrastructure bill money can be accessed. It couldn't be accessed until we have these concepts all written up with the right vocabulary and ideas. So that's,
Is there even an infrastructure bill anymore?
there is. We'll see. I'm still moving forward on it.
Hey, you should.
Okay,
Thank you.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
yes, at the very least, we'll have a great plan to pull that off the shelf with money from New York State on something else, or some other money fund.
But some of this, Kate, I mean, some of this plan could easily be applied locally in
Yeah.
a minor scale.
Exactly,
If it
and,
were to involve signage or something
that's
like
right.
that.
right, or do the stop sign or something.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Do what you can up to a point.
Right.
And while we're at it, everybody knows that Banks Road has little salamanders crossing, not Banks, Thomas Road.
Already,
It's nice and night
It's
already.
55 degrees out
and a lot of rain.
and a lot of rain.
Wow.
Little guys
Have they been
running.
reported?
I
That's
got a
cool.
notice from salamander people.
So are they out there?
Huh?
Are they out there
I
tonight?
believe them, we've got some school kids out there stopping traffic on time.
Oh,
Yes. Anyway, so
55
that's-
miles an hour.
Yeah.
We determined.
Everybody slow down for the buggies. Anyway,
To that point, Jeff Smith at the county did forward our request after the
Okay.
last meeting
mhm.
to the state. So.
He's talking about not the salamanders, but.
Oh, for a speed reduction on Thomas Road?
Yeah.
We requested a petition was passed on Thomas Road by a lot of residents, so we will see what happens with that. I'm hoping we'll know sooner rather than later, so
Did we ever get an answer about what the actual speed limit is?
55,
Okay.
No kidding.
Yeah,
we got an answer. Jeff Smith said the 45 in Dryden was for the Dryden section. So,
wow, that's like interstate highway speeds.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't,
On that little road.
All the,
Yeah.
all
I
the
don't
roads you
understand.
have to
it's,
55.
yeah,
That's crazy.
so.
Like.
That was,
Linden and
that was quite
20 years ago.
interesting, yeah.
Or Vandermark Road, you can go 55 on legally. Anyway, okay, I'll get off my soapbox there.
Could I ask us to return to broadband just for a second?
Okay, let's return to broadband.
Just to hear the status, the bond situation,
Wow.
what the calendar looks like.
Where are we
Perhaps.
going?
So, we are in the 30-day, it's actually in a day or two, we're in the 30-day permissive referendum period. And then that will end in the next day or two, and then we publish a legal notice of estoppel. And then that just explains the particular circumstances that anyone could use to object or to object to the bonding. We gotta wait, so that's published, that'll be published Saturday, and then we wait 20 days for that
On top.
to expire. The we will be submitting it's kind of an interesting process. So then when we do take it to bid, it's put out, the bonds are bid to banks to do that. So the bonding council is drafting a big document that explains the town of Caroline and all these things. So we've been putting that together, and we'll give them that information tomorrow. So the projection was that the bond funds would be available pretty much by the end of April. So 7 weeks, something like
That's
that.
good.
Yeah, so.
Would this be a space to ask some questions about that? I don't know a lot about bonds, but I know bonds have been in the news lately. I'm curious about,
You're probably gonna ask me a question I can't answer
well,
that.
I'll put it on the table and we can just ruminate in it. So I know that the broadband project we're gonna do regardless, even if we didn't have a bond. One of the last meetings you said we're committed to this.
Well, except that, no, then I'm sorry, I misstated that. So we will need the bond either way. It's
Okay.
just, the question is, if the grant for some odd reason, didn't come through, whether the bond money would be reimbursed. If it's not reimbursed, then if it's not reimbursed by a grant that we got, then it would be reimbursed by the project fees. And that would just take a longer period of time.
Alright, I don't know how bonds work. Can the rate change over time while we have the bond? Or is it
I think
stuck
the rates are set. My understanding is the rates are set every year.
every year?
So we
had it for 3, 4, 5 years paying it off.
Right.
They could change.
It could change.
Okay, I just putting this on the table, then we need to be prepared. Cause the economy is in turmoil.
Really?
And my sense is it's gonna get worse.
Really?
And so as a local town, when you say the word bond, we set this up before the chaos ensued, and so now I think it would be nice to be prepared and think a little bit about the worst case scenario. I love worst case scenarios, they may never come true, but we need to at least be prepared and calmly prepared,
Mhm,
not in a irrational way.
yeah.
But
My general answer to that
Yep.
would be, I get it. I don't know what bond rates are gonna do year to year. I definitely don't know what the economy is gonna do. And but what we would be banking on, is that, it would just affect our payback time. So it might be longer or shorter, but either way, the project should, pay for itself.
but the cost for the town could potentially, it could decrease, but it could also increase. If the longer the bond market
If, yes,
fluctuates,
So that's a good
Yeah.
question, so, and,
just something to research and understand is all
Yeah.
I'm saying.
looks like that is the worst case scenario,
Yeah.
right, because,
Yeah, because, I mean, we're supposed to get the grant, so that worst case scenario is that we don't get the grant.
and just to clarify,
I mean,
we
we have
have
the grant.
gotten the grant, but I understand that we're concerned about the actual money showing up in,
Right,
in the bank.
yes.
But we did get the grant, I just wanna
Yeah.
make that.
Yes,
That's right.
that's, I meant to say that.
Okay.
We have the
And
grant.
we've been told the actual money is in New York State.
But it is reimbursable and we know,
yeah,
I know personally, the reimbursable grants right now are in chaos. And so I'm just saying,
I get it,
that
yeah.
more than any other
Yeah.
time, right now, it's,
But I guess what are you saying? Are
Yeah.
you saying we should stop? Or
No.
just be
Prepare.
prepared?
prepared.
In what way would you prepare?
Emergency preparedness,
Okay.
no, that's a joke.
Good, that's a question.
Well, that's what I'm asking you. What, you
What
mean
should we do?
mentally, you mean, you know,
Both.
okay. I mean.
Budget wise, like, just, I
In
mean,
other words,
it's,
be prepared for
it
worst
could,
case scenario.
it could, it's a lot of money.
I know, but it's
And we
not
could
like
be
we can,
burned with it.
it's not like we can suddenly get a whole bunch more money to have on reserve or something.
I don't
right?
know, I just be prepared.
If. A good thing to think about though is that this whole project is going to be complete quickly, so we'll have money coming back in.
Oh, and it could be because it's a business and there's,
Right.
you're charging and then
That's right.
pay and, yeah.
Right, so I think
So
that's
it's
the
not
point I
like-
wanted to make.
It's not
which
like
is-
we're not gonna be, the broadband project won't be hooking some people up for 6 years, right? We won't get money from customer one, like 3.
Yeah, I get it,
or something,
yeah.
Right,
Just,
it'll be coming in fast.
So, yeah, I wanted to follow up, I think you nailed it, so you said what it's gonna cost the town, so. We're gonna have a working finance meeting later this week to try to clarify things, but. My understanding is that the cost of the project is gonna be paid by the project. So from the proceeds. From the fees for broadband services, so. And it's just a matter of if we get the grant, then a lot of the construction costs are paid for off the bat. And then, we get into the black much quicker, so it's just,
great.
it's a timeline issue, but I understand your angst, for sure.
We share it,
Right.
yeah.
We share, it's just then whenever somebody says, we've got to be prepared, I'm just curious like what that looks like.
Well,
I think you're asking
I think,
questions.
if in 2 years. The reimbursements aren't materializing as they should, then at that time we'll have to start mapping. Interest rates, and we can also map. Potential decreases or increases
Mhm.
in interest rates accordingly. The way that the way that this should all take place, although we can't even think that way anymore right now. The way it should take place is this is all gonna be wrapped up in 2 years and the bond will be reimbursed. Neat tidy package, and we already know what expense is gonna be laid out for that.
And there are. I don't have the dates on me, but there are reimbursement dates, like, so. We get to, a certain point in the project, we get reimbursed, we get to a certain point, we get reimbursed.
Oh, so it's not the complete 100% and then,
Right.
okay, that's
No,
good.
we shouldn't reach that 6.5 million mark ever.
Which is why we probably don't have to take up out a bond for that amount.
Right.
Okay, that's enough. I just want to
So we'll
be
hopefully
understood.
feel better within a year, having got some reimbursement on this.
I hope I feel better within a year.
Me too. Oh, yeah.
I think it's gonna take 2 years. It's gonna take 2 years, I think. For the midterm elections, but anyway.
Well,
Anyway,
we're not going
So,
there.
don't
Yeah,
even
let's not
So,
go there, but, okay,
good.
That's helpful, thanks.
Great.
That's good to know the timeline and how this is happening.
Yeah.
And that you've got to put all this stuff together within a week. So
Yeah, it's.
that means none of us should be calling you with superfluous
It's okay.
stuff.
Fine. That never happens anyway, so that's good. Good. So thank you.
So,
Great, so we move on to the agenda business item of
Yeah.
discussing the cannabis opt-in. Put it up.
Well, I circulated to you some information that I received because I have a colleague who was one of the 5 New York State cannabis czars when the Cannabis Commission was created. And one of the questions that was raised at our public hearing was whether or not the state had done any health studies prior to engaging in this. And I was told that, yes, there were extensive studies. I didn't get the details of the studies. And I also heard as well from the person who served as the attorney for the Cannabis Commission, who's one of the leading attorneys for cannabis in the state, who also mentioned to me that aside from income advantages, which I think is probably our least concern, that would be nice, but that's not why we're gonna make decisions necessarily.
Right.
Both of their feelings was that the advantage of opting in, aside from not having people having to drive out of town, is that the cannabis that is distributed and sold would be distributed and sold through local sites as regulated cannabis. So that there are some restrictions then on the quality and safety of what's available. For me, that was a very compelling reason to think about moving ahead with
wait,
this.
can you just repeat what you just said?
Yeah, the state is regulating the cannabis itself.
Okay,
The cannabis on the market, on the open market, on the black market is
Yeah.
not at all
okay,
regulated.
okay, and so if it's local,
And
It's hidden and
it's
people don't
safer.
see it and
And you don't know what's in it, and it's safer.
but I'm just probably devil's advocate here. So how do we know that the cannabis sold locally is grown locally or?
Well, it's not a matter if it's grown locally, it's a matter that it meets the state criteria for
Okay.
inspection,
All right,
right?
yeah, that was one of my questions.
May I make a quick clarification?
Sure.
I'm not sure if I'm allowed to.
Sure, go ahead.
Sure.
In my case, for the micro business, everything I sell will be grown at the farm.
I said,
But that's not the issue.
Right, that's your individual
Yeah.
choice, right? So, yeah,
But it still has to meet state criteria,
Yes.
correct? Yeah.
so one question I had when I read the emails, it was from Adam Perry, who you were just talking about. He's talking about providing assistance to a number of municipalities on preparing a local enforcement ordinance and training of permits and inspection personnel in police department.
First, I would
kind of like,
prefer we
yeah.
not use his proper name because this was.
I'm sorry,
formal
I'm sorry,
communication.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. So But I'm curious. Do we need a local enforcement ordinance? Do we need training?
He's,
So that was.
this person works for a very large law firm
Okay.
that is constantly seeking business.
Mhm.
And I was invited,
Okay,
we were invited to borrow their services for a fee. And they think writ large,
So I guess-
so,
my concern,
and we have a sheriff.
is like. Well, a whole bunch of things, I've been very focused on safe streets for all, trying to get things safer. I am concerned about, marijuana use and driving. I'm concerned about, I'm concerned, I don't know, I agree with Catherine. I'm very concerned about youth. I'm concerned about the acceptance of marijuana as just recreational. I live right near Brookton's Market, which I've been concerned about the amount of marijuana smoked there, not legally, but very accepted by everybody. It seems. I wouldn't send my kids down there when they were 10 or 11 now in the evening, to get butter or something. So I am concerned about the safety. I'm concerned about the problems affecting people in schools and in college levels. I'm concerned about the level of THC in pot now. I don't have a good feeling that this is. If we don't, I don't know how would we enforce not driving while high? It's illegal to smoke pot in a car. So how do you enforce that when you've got drive-throughs, right? I mean, we don't have police enforcing the speed limit. So I'm really concerned about how you would enforce this, or how. I know our culture is changing, but there's a lot of questions I have about it.
Wouldn't it be enforced like alcohol is enforced?
Is it enforced? Yeah,
Well, people would.
I don't
be
know. I mean,
just
that was a
driving
question. So
dramatically.
do you get a breathalyzer for pot?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think they have a way of testing.
But they don't do a breathalyzer unless you're driving erratically.
They can do a blood test for THC,
They can do a blood test.
urine test as well.
It's been a while since I went through a DWI stop, not me per se, like they stop the traffic and they say how much you've had to drink. It's been a while, I'm trying to think when that happened last, probably a couple of decades. Where have you been, how much you had to drink, and they were just stopping every car.
I've never seen that.
Really?
Yes, I've never had to-
I've never seen
Maybe it was down
that.
in Maryland.
You don't drive back and forth to Cortland very often.
Well,
Yeah.
Okay.
Jonathan?
I was just gonna ask a
Yeah.
clarifying question, is there a way that we can, I don't know, outline a decision matrix? Like, what are the things that would get us to go one way or the other? Cause we could go down rabbit holes, like I could say something like, why aren't we a dry town if we're concerned about alcohol? Honestly, that's my perspective, but I don't wanna necessarily control people's lives.
Mhm.
And so it's complex, like alcoholism is terrible.
Mm-hmm,
People can abuse marijuana too.
mm-hmm.
That's my personal side, but in terms of like my decision matrix as a public official,
Mhm.
I kind of feel like I want to regulate a lot of stuff, but I can't. And I feel like this is it's a business. So how can we regulate something that is potentially in every town around the town of County technically could opt in, and we would be this little island amongst, so how do you can't regulate that border outside your border, and people could drive through our town just as much as if we had it in our town.
Right.
So we
So-
have our
right.
town buying.
Yeah.
pot, right? And we'd also have all those Cornell students going back and forth on their way to New York City. Not smoking in the car, right?
So anyway,
I'm
You're
just
like on
saying,
matrix,
I'm
decision,
having-
decision matrix.
so
I'm having,
but
yeah,
can I just say something to
Go ahead.
Jonathan's point? So I
Yes.
appreciate what you said, because I think it is complex. I don't think, I would love to develop a little decision tree that would be easy, but I don't think, I think we're gonna have to use our judgment, just so everybody knows, we're not planning to vote tonight. We were planning to, if agreed, bring it forward at the business meeting this month, which will be in 2 weeks. So, as far as process, that's my thinking about it. Like you, I think, I personally don't have a horse in this race. So I'm trying to, you know, approach this sort of objectively, so as far as my understanding for like level of THC, I thought that was addressed by the state regulating it and, being able to, you can only sell, pot or cannabis that has a certain, under a threshold. That's-
do you know?
I can clarify, for edibles, you can only sell a total serving size of 100 milligrams total with 10 milligram, or up to one serving can only be 10 milligrams. And one retail package can only have 100 milligrams. So that's very regulated. So you can't even buy a package of gummies legally in New York State that's more than 100 milligrams or any edible of any kind.
But you could buy several packages or no?
Oh, I'm assuming so, yes, yeah.
Okay.
Like, kind of like if, trying to think how I would relate it to. Best way would be perhaps like buying a 6-pack of beer. You have 6 servings of beer.
Right.
You can drink all 6 if you want.
Right.
But the serving
come back
size
to
is
some
1
more.
beer.
Yeah.
So it's a very similar, or take it home, put it in your fridge and every now and then have a beer.
Right.
Right.
So that's, I don't know how people
Yep.
would drink their beer.
Of course, it's also legal for people to grow their own marijuana.
Sorry.
Yes,
It's also legal for people to grow their own marijuana.
that's correct.
Can I make a comment?
Yes, please.
I guess I've really struggled over this actually. But I think I still keep coming back to the fact that we allow liquor to be sold. And that has proven side effects, and now they're, you know, saying it can cause cancer. And so it's still being sold and consumed, and people use it to excess. And so I just think philosophically, I don't know how we can decide that this other thing we're not going to allow when we allow, you know, a thing that's potentially damaging and dangerous and kills people. And the
Oh,
people
well,
use. So,
I guess I agree with that. At the same time, our society has such a hard time though. With alcohol, different places are dry, some are not, some have different age limits, some, you know, have trying different ways, some have. There are tons and tons of support for people who do have drinking problems, who at least, you know, identify with that. And so I'm wondering why we embrace another drug as normal, as natural as, yes, it's what you do when you get to be of age, is you get to go out and drink, and yes, you get to go out and smoke pot, and that's what a grown-up does. And that embracing of another drug troubles me deeply.
but not everybody abuses it. Like, a lot of people get benefits from it. I know plenty of people that, you know,
That like it.
that like it, and they like it to help them sleep, and they, you know, as pain relief or whatever, and they're not abusing it. And so it's an option, and not everybody abuses alcohol either. I mean, a lot of people just like to have a drink with dinner occasionally.
Yes, I'm aware.
So just because it's there doesn't mean that people are going to abuse it. Or we're not embracing something in order for somebody to.
But the number of
abuse it.
young adults smoking pot has increased a lot. It's gone up in
So,
That's,
Because
well,
I
that's
think
the
it's
flip
more-
side, is that what is our role as a decision-making body for the town?
Mhm.
Are we, would we do it? Would we stay opt out for the purpose of educating the public and saying, we're doing this because we don't agree with, you know,
We think it's a bad thing.
we think it's a bad thing and we don't want young people, we don't wanna encourage the acceptance of it because it's potentially bad for our youth. Like, to me, I could see that argument, but is that our role as a
right.
What about
decision-making
keeping-
body? I don't know if it is.
safety, you know, on the roads.
Yeah,
I
that's a
mean,
good question.
that's, you know, I've been doing the Safe Streets for All, you know, this accident reports, you know, and going.
Well,
Yeah,
so
you know,
do you have a feel for how many are caused by marijuana?
no, because they don't do testing for it. They haven't.
So you,
No, I don't.
so you don't know.
I mean, are we assuming that were there a business in this town that everyone would be consuming on the spot instead of taking it home and enjoying it?
I thought, yeah, I mean, that's, well, we have different,
I mean,
we have a
one thing we
dispensary
could-
and then we have a lounge,
we could
right, so they're
consider
different
something
ideas, right?
If it came to that, we still have the option of splitting those off too. I mean, we have totally the option of splitting dispensary off from lounge. When we opted out, we had to opt out of both. They were presented to us as two different options at the time.
Do both, collect, I wanna learn more about the tax piece, but do they both, collect taxes?
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be sales tax.
So-
4% comes back to me.
In fact,
Okay.
one of the things, this one municipality is bringing in millions on Long Island, the town of Babylon.
Yeah,
Because they didn't opt out just because they couldn't agree on when to have a public hearing. Anyway, and they ended up being the only dispensary in that whole section of Long Island.
Well, we won't have that problem because almost every other town in the county
Right,
has opted in.
right.
but that was one of my next questions, is we wanna get into the weeds a little bit, is
Supposed to be.
is understand the taxes a little bit more. I did read something about, you know, the county does it math regarding all the different collection of the different taxes of the various entities and then distributes it equally amongst the towns that are opted in at 3%, or they get 3%,
I don't
is something like
think
that?
so. No, it
No,
it actually explained.
Here, here, that-
Yeah, cause
I think, yeah, you
the
said,
state and the county get
Yeah, I
different
don't-
portions.
I don't know the.
And then the county, this helps to decide how the towns that have opted in, they get a portion. But the question I wanna know is what if the portion is it $1,000 a year or is it $1 million a year? Like, I want that number. To help make a decision.
Why would that matter?
That actually wouldn't matter to me,
Yeah.
but because yeah, I mean, it's just like sales tax. It's just like sales tax for any other product.
Well, what I read is that we have a decision, we can make a decision about how we use that income.
Oh,
well, this town of
That could
Babylon
be.
uses their income specifically for substance abuse treatment facilities.
okay, that's a good
Yep.
point.
I had an idea, if you wanna hear it.
Sure.
So they call it a sin tax. What about a, fuck. This Anyway, a positive tax rather than a sin tax. To support, so.
Virtue tax?
Virtue tax, to support soil health development on the lands in the town of Caroline. idea.
We all like soil health.
Well, it's the foundation of civilization.
Yes.
Are you suggesting that we need to make a commitment to how we would use potential
Revenue.
I think it's
revenue
important.
in advance of making this decision?
I think it's but when I mean, not make a decision, but it's an important part of the conversation. I think if we just say opt in, I just feel like it's irresponsible because we're, that's part of our mandate is is the financial health of the town.
Yeah, so that's interesting, because I kind of feel like when you make a decision like this, it should be based on have a philosophical basis, a logical and philosophical basis. So that's how I'm looking at this, is like, what's logical, and, we've allowed one thing, why don't we allow this other thing? And what's the reason we won't? Rather than,
That's
money that might come in and how we
that's
use
the-
it, that's another.
to me, that's the
later
first-
discussion.
That's the first
Yeah,
decision make part of the matrix.
Right.
But then once we get down the line to what could that money be used for? How could it be maximally useful to the town, because it will be a factor in the budget,
But for me,
you
that.
get to decide.
Okay. But
Well-
that would come after the first decision,
yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
Because then I think you'd need to do research on, I don't know how many. Just I don't know how many people have a problem with alcohol in this town that might need a center that they could come to and get psychological help, for example. And I would want to know that before I decided that soil health is more important than providing, some kind of help to people in need. So I would need to have a lot more information farther down the line before figuring out how to do that. That's just an example. I mean, and it just came up because of the working families questionnaire. That was kind of part of it. What would you do to like that?
Right. Interesting.
So,
Well, I mean, this is good conversation. So part of the decision matrix, say we did decide to opt in, and we did have to make a decision about what the money would be used for. If we want to do it objectively, it would be good to lay out all the potential things that the money could be used for and be clear about how they would impact the town in positive ways. Like that. But we would need the data to know how that would be used.
but I think we can make the decision to opt in or not
Absent that.
without that, because you're assuming, because there will be income coming in, and we can assume that income will be used for a positive benefit. And like what that positive benefit's gonna be can be later. But
I mean, we'll have to decide.
yes, but money coming in will be positive. I don't think we're gonna waste it. We have this bond.
And I think
So to me, it's a philosophical and moral
to
question.
go back to the, I mean, I think alcohol does a lot of damage. And as I said, our society has tried to figure out how to deal with it in numerous ways. Laws, regulations, treatment centers, all kinds of things. And yet we do have things that are illegal that, we've got cocaine, we've got other drugs. Cigarettes aren't illegal, but they're really expensive. So I'm just saying, I mean, there are different ways that our culture does not make things the same. And so I have a hard time with the idea of like, well, alcohol, so why not pot?
Well, because
It's
they're
the
both
same.
legal.
I don't think they're the same.
They're not the same. They're both legal. Cocaine is not legal, okay,
Why
so.
not?
Well, I don't know why cocaine's not legal, but it's not.
I'm just saying,
Am I
I'm just
wrong?
saying that.
It's not legal, so you can't,
I mean, I think to me an important, both alcohol and cannabis are used in responsible ways for, social engagement and things like that, and then they can both be abused, so. And I guess the reason cocaine's illegal is because it's usually a disaster, so.
But here's a question. So let's say all the towns around the town of Caroline all opt in, and we're in that island. Is there data or not to determine whether whatever positiveness we can continue doing with not opting in about education, about why we've opted out and being anti-drug or whatever, that impact around our town it would be so overwhelming to whatever we would do in the town. You know what I mean? How do you keep
I'm not getting it.
how do you keep the negativeness, if you could say such a thing, of cannabis, the effect of that out of our town by opting out?
I don't think.
I mean, there are probably, I don't know the statistics on this, but there are probably a significant number of citizens in the town of Caroline who enjoy and use cannabis.
Yeah.
Just like there are a significant number of citizens in the town who drink wine with their dinner.
Yeah.
That I don't see, I mean, there are different ways of looking at that. I don't see that as a negative anything. I see that as a part of the social fabric. And the fact that New York State made the big decision
Yeah,
to legalize cannabis was partly in response to that reality in that social fabric. It
It's
also
also economic though. I mean, we have to acknowledge that it's about tax. They want money.
well, I don't
It's a big
think
piece of
that
it.
the people who promoted that change of the law, promoted the change of the law for that reason. They promoted it
mhm,
so that suckers would get arrested and put into jail simply for taking a toke somewhere or et cetera. I mean, that's a complex thing, but
It is.
but I think that-
so.
I mean, I totally understand the concern, people's concerns about abuse. It may well be that if we had a responsible, and all this is just conjecture, because even though
Yeah.
there's someone sitting here who said they want to run a business, we don't know if that's actually gonna happen. You can't depend on anything these days, but ideally, we would have a business that would also be an incredibly responsible business and make education part of their business model. And the town board could actually work with whoever that might be to encourage that positive business model. That's one area that doesn't address the driving while consuming issue, which of course is a serious concern.
Or the abuse piece.
Well, the abuse piece,
Yeah.
but that's also a
Or the
serious
teens
concern, but
getting hold of
also,
it because it's. You know, I know they have to be old enough, right, to buy it legally.
yes,
Right,
sure.
so,
No, there's ways around that.
I know.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I mean,
Well, they can
I
grow
was
their
really
own.
shocked to see this
It's true.
huge place up on Route
That's a
13.
good point.
I mean, you just have to go up Midline Road and out, right where,
There's
well,
the
it goes out to
drive,
Route 13 and
the
then
drive-in dispensary,
Yeah,
it's a very
huge.
busy place.
Yeah.
And you might as well be in Carolina.
That's the conundrum of the philosophical piece.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to get at. It's like you can't, it's almost impossible to keep any negative effects from affecting our town. Because it's gonna be, it's
They
surrounding
already-
us.
They already do.
Right.
Well, they already do, yeah.
Well, I guess getting back to the philosophy, I was,
No,
sorry.
go ahead, no.
I'll just say, I guess I don't see my role here as trying to legislate what's good or healthy for people, but following if it's legal and if they follow the zoning law, for placement, I don't see how it can be denied. Because we allow alcohol.
Or should be.
Yes, why it should be denied, because we're allowing Brookton's Market in the middle of the town, selling
And
alcohol.
people sell cigarettes in the town.
Yeah, so,
So, well, legally, they're not supposed to be smoking cigarettes or pot down there.
Down where?
Get the Brookton's Market.
I'm not talking about them
Oh,
smoking.
you mean at home?
Smoking.
I thought she was talking about Brookton's Market.
Yeah, I'm saying they sell alcohol there and you can get your alcohol, you can go out in the tent and you can drink it, so.
Yeah.
You know, and that's allowed.
Mhm.
So I don't see why, if that's allowed, why we shouldn't also allow another legal activity. As long as it follows all
Mhm.
the town's laws for placement, and that's why I brought the zoning again, just because I wanted to double check like where it's allowed.
So the zoning, just remind me, about zoning. And
So
the zoning and the lounge.
so cannabis dispensary and cannabis lounge are the same, and it's SPR in ag rural,
Which is site plan review.
yeah. SPR in Sladeville Springs. And then permitted in the Focus Commercial, and it's not allowed anywhere else. It's not allowed in Bessemer, it's not allowed in West Sladeville. Not allowed in Caroline Center. Not allowed in Brookendale. Or Center
Is it
Brookendale.
allowed in ag?
It's not allowed in Central.
It's allowed in ag, right?
It's allowed in ag, yeah,
It's not allowed in Central Brookton.
that's correct.
Right.
You have to be, sorry. You have to be so far from a school and a church
Right.
and stuff like
Right,
that.
Central Brookton over
That's
200 feet
the-
away
For
from
the
church.
zoning, when we did the zoning, we were very specific
Right.
about this.
And I don't think we have rules about the cannabis lounge and dispensary being. a
No, they
distance.
were
There's
classed
not-
for zoning.
Yeah, but there's no distance requirements. Now, adult use, which is, I can look, basically pornography, there are distances,
Distances.
Curveball,
yes.
so federally, it's still illegal.
Mhm.
We're in a chaotic federal place right now.
Really?
Are we, by opting in, I don't know, I'm making this up, are we somehow risking the municipality at all if the federal government happens to come down on the state for any reason for making cannabis legal?
Well, it wouldn't be Caroline. It would be the whole state.
It'd be New York State.
Like, are there gonna be ATF raids? You know, I'm just throwing it out there. I'm just throwing it out
I
there.
think that.
So not doing any
I
DEI.
think they have enough rating to do right now. I think this will be low priority.
Just throwing it out there.
They haven't identified that as one of their priorities.
No, not yet.
So
Diversity, equity, and inclusion is different, you know.
I guess I think, I think we've considered a lot of different angles and issues. Does anybody have anything different or else that we should grapple with right now?
I would like to say I really appreciate people's points about things, and I'm gonna rethink some things. But
No, I've been thinking about this constantly, and it's just, when I finally come back, I mean, so yeah, there's a lot of issues.
It's a lot of issues, yeah. Are we, do we want to bring this forward at the next meeting for consideration for making a decision on this? Okay,
Yeah,
Sure.
I think we might as well.
so we will do that. Great, okay. Thanks, everybody, and thanks everybody who contributed. Appreciate your comments and totally
Very helpful.
understood, yeah. The next item on the agenda was approval of the minutes of February 20th. Anybody have any feedback for Jesse?
Well done.
thank you, Jesse.
Thanks, Jesse.
Thanks, Jesse.
Minutes are approved. And so.
Thank you.
Great. So for the business meeting, that'll be on the 19th of March. We will, put the cannabis law on the agenda for consider the opt-in
Opt in.
law or reverse opt-out. And I think other items for the, then we will consider adoption of the town hall emergency response plan that Michelle drafted. So so in regard to that, I did share, I tweaked what Michelle gave me today, so we should bat it back and forth in the next week so that we can then put that on the agenda for consideration for adoption. So if you have any comments or questions, bring them up, shoot them out. So great. And
Will there be town hall developments by next week for us to discuss?
that's a really good question. Let's see. Yeah, I think we will at the next meeting, fingers crossed, I don't have anything in my hands yet, but by tomorrow at this time we will. So I think, we'll probably have a proposal to consider for the town hall project.
Great.
Great. Oh, that reminds me, I did get a proposal from the bond council, which is different than it's a partner with Municipal Solutions. So that's for a separate contract for their services. So I need to sign that for them. That's Oric and the people who draft the bond. So yeah, so I should seek approval to sign that.
Yeah, that's in 2 weeks, not now. Or do you get it now? We need tomorrow.
If you're comfortable doing it tonight, that would be great, but I don't have it in front of me, so maybe we should do it in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do it then.
It's not gonna hold up the bond
I
process.
don't think so.
Okay. I remember the word I was looking for. A synergy tax.
Synergy tax.
Synergy tax.
Synergy. Oh, not.
Sin.
Complimentary.
Synergy tax.
I get it.
Okay.
I get it.
Got it? You got it? Okay.
Yeah, got it. Okay.
Well, what does that mean?
So I don't know, this
You
idea,
had to ask.
this idea of a sin tax is negative in
Yeah.
my mind. But a synergy tax, we would use it in positive ways.
Okay,
If you're an English professor, syntax is not at all negative.
Then it's,
Great.
okay.
Anything else for the next meeting? All good? So if you think of something, let me
I could
know.
report on the meeting tomorrow, I guess.
Yeah.
That's kind of along the lines of the.
Yeah, that'd be really good. That should be great.
And we probably can report on the 6 Mile Creek discussion
Yeah.
too.
and whether my potluck was, too many people came.
Great. Anything else? If nothing else, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Michelle. All in favor?
Aye,
Aye. Opposed? The meeting is adjourned.
that's great.
Thank you, everybody.